Yes.
Sir, I rise to speak on this bill, the Public Examinations Prevention of Unfair Means Bill 2024. Sir, much needed bill. However, it has come at a very late stage. As earlier speakers have mentioned, it started from Vyapam. The state government should have taken very stringent action. And several states are there. I don't want to talk about individual states, but the last 10 years have seen a spate of paper leaks that have happened. Almost about 1.5 crore students have suffered. And when we are talking about the youngsters of today who are taking these competitive exams, and we are talking about computer platforms where they are taking this exam, we have moved forward. And when the present government, when it came in 2014 and thought that it should make everything digitalized, and it rides on that wave of digital India, I think it should have made corresponding arrangements and platforms to see that these menaces are curbed. But yet, it has not happened. Sir, I have gone through the bill. The bill is very exhaustive. But to find words like organized crime when we are talking of unfair practices, when we are talking about service providers, when we are talking about electronic platforms, when we are talking about intermediaries, sir, the kind of investigation required for this kind of unfair practices, which are telling upon the life and the careers of young students, I request the Honorable Minister to look into the investigation part of this particular typical kind of offenses. Sir, they are not the normal offenses that should go to a police station. I see that in one of the clauses, the name, the DSP is given the duty in order to investigate. But these police stations are flooded with investigations of murders, of dowry deaths, of cheating, of having all kinds of offenses, and to bring this same offense, a specialized offense that is taking place, is in the same purview. I think we need specialized personnel, investigative personnel who would look into these specialized investigations. I would request the Honorable Minister not to look at this offense as a general offense. It is a very specialized offense, and that is why we are unable to nab these offenders. And that is why we need to have a corresponding change also in the Evidence Act. We will need electronic evidence. We will need to have a regulatory authority which is not in place to investigate where are these companies happening, where are these service providers. We may just use these broad terms that service providers should be booked. Every director, every company person sitting on the board should be held responsible and be dragged into this offense. But who is going to investigate this? This very detailed investigation required, which is in the digital space, sir. The digital space means you are talking about having surveillance cameras in the examination centers. You need to have certain kind of very specialized service providers for this. You do not know where these companies are operating. When you find the question and answer shots on the WhatsApp, you can imagine how far they have driven into this particular unknown space which we don't know. It's not like a murder happening and you catch hold of the murder weapon and you give it and go and question people. This is a very strange and a very unique and a very specific arena where you need investigation of a very specific kind. I am pained to see that the youngsters and the students, they suddenly go to the centers and they find their travel distances that the examination is cancelled because of the paper leak. Now, how can a paper leak happen when we are talking of digital India, transactions? You just go, put on the, and you know what has happened to Paytm. And all kinds of these frauds. And how can we promise our youngsters a new India, a modern India, an India which will go in the next century, next decade, when we don't have these particular setups? So, sir, when we brought certain kind of sections in the Indian Penal Code, at that time, we made corresponding changes in the Criminal Procedure Code, the procedure, as well as the Evidence Act, that this should be collected by way of evidence in this particular kind of offense. Now, in these digital offenses, when we don't have a regulator, we don't have a regulatory mechanism in place, when you don't know who are these companies who are operating, and how can we not know when we know who are the paper setters? So I think we are turning a blind eye to these particular aspects in this particular bill. I think these are most important. And then, sir, describing organized crime, and when we are talking of young students, what kind of words we are using for our education system and for our youngsters? I think, sir, we need to have more stakeholders come into maybe your further meetings when you draft the rules for every state, because this is a central legislation, and you have made an observation that the state may adopt these bills at the state level and make their own bills. But when you frame the rules, sir, if these aspects are not taken, the DSPs and the police officers would be burdened with all kinds of offenses. How would they investigate when you don't know? And specifically, when you have mentioned that the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, whenever it comes, till then the Indian Penal Code will operate. Sir, today, I may make a submission today. It's out of this context, but there are sessions going on to explain what are the new bills that have come, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, and there's a confusion. So you will have to give this clarification that, well, they'll be governed by the Indian Penal Code, these are the sections, and this will be the way of procedure for investigations. And then when you are mentioning 1 crore fees, 1.5 crores penalty, sir, they will have to pay when they get convicted. If they don't get convicted, these fees and these enormous numbers are of no use, because you have seen the backlog in the judicial system. Where is that special judicial infrastructure? Sir, you will have to provide for special courts a timeline that in this particular period the investigation will be over, and in this period of time the charge sheet will be filed and the trial will go on. And sir, if this is not done, then it will add to those 5 or 6 crores of cases which are languishing, and we do not know what would be the situation. If you nab the accused, what would we think? Because here, the ultimate result is not punishment or showing some kind of penal actions against the offenders or what the government is doing. The ultimate result is our youngsters, our youth should feel safe. They should think that, yes, when we are going to take this exam, we are completely protected by the government. And our papers will go on as per the rules and norms. Earlier, we used to check the students for the chits they would take out from the pockets or from wherever. Here, there is nothing. Are the examination centers going to be having surveillance cameras, these platforms, and are you going to have very, very stringent monitoring systems as far as this digital space is concerned? Sir, we are lagging much behind in the digital infrastructure and the digital investigations and also the digital surveillance. I think I would request the Honorable Minister to look into these main aspects which are governing this law. The bill is definitely a welcome step. We are very at a belated stage. One of my colleagues mentioned what happened in Gujarat, and he would definitely authenticate that. But it is in public domain, sir. Name a state and there have been paper leaks. Name the number of students and they are dejected. And I think when we talk about competitive exams, we talk about hiring talatis and we talk of hiring medical people. I think somewhere we have not made foolproof platforms where they can go and apply and then still feel secure that, yes, there will not be any frauds in this kind of digital infrastructure or digital space. Sir, I would request the Honorable Minister to look into these very, very strong points which I have made, and unless and until you won't promise that, yes, we will nab them at the very first point of time, and we will see that we are going to create a regulatory structure for these service providers from wherever they are operating. We don't even know from where they are operating, sir. And wherever these companies have registered, where are these companies?
Thank you, ma'am.
And that is why, sir, I would make a request that despite the bill being a very laudable step in curbing the menace of paper leaks, and our youngsters are looking at this, and I'm glad that the candidates are not in this purview, but I would request the Honorable Minister to take it very seriously and on urgency basis and plug the loopholes which are there in the bill.